And we are back. Welcome back, everybody, to this live stream. This time we're here for the qualifying session ahead of the Malaysian Grand Prix, where once again the weather has taken a turn for the worse for this qualifying session. Monsoon conditions for Q1. Whether we're going to have these conditions for Q2 and Q3, monsoon that is, we'll have to wait and see. But just like in practice, I am joined once again by Hyun.
Hello there, everyone. Nice to meet you all.
Yep, and we're about to get underway for the qualifying session, which could be very, very interesting. Now, Hyen has elected not to give out predictions for the qualifying, but I'll just do them for myself. So, in terms of who I believe will be eliminated in the first part of qualifying, I am going to say, well, I'll just go over the usual suspects: both Williamses, both Aston Martins, a McLaren, and an Alfa Romeo. I think that's what's going to happen. But as you can see, everybody is on the extreme wet tyres for this qualifying session. And it should be very, very interesting indeed, of course. So we'll have to wait and see if we're going to get any pit lane entrance issues during this qualifying session, given that the cars are usually grouped together in Q1. So I have to wait and see. Of course, it is
six car elimination.
This is the three-part qualifying elimination like we have in real life. So that's that really. So 18 minutes for Q1, 15 minutes for Q2, and because of GP4, it has to be 15 minutes for Q3. We can't go any lower than 15 on GP4. So that's that really. As now we've got Kirishima DeRosa, who's the first car to go out onto the racetrack in the McLaren, and he's obviously on the extreme wet tyres like everybody will be. So all 22 cars will be making their way out on the racetrack, and it will be interesting to see what sort of lap times these drivers will be able to do in these wet conditions. Byrne and Willows are also out there on the track, so both McLarens making their way out onto the racetrack now then, as DeRosa makes his way out of turn 2 and around turn 3 now then he will go. As a few more cars make their way out. Of course, DeRosa, you would imagine, will not get any traffic when he starts his lap, but the same can't be said for all the other cars that are behind at the moment as he makes his way out of turn 4 now then, and around the left and right-hander now then we will soon go. As, in fact, he's having to tippy-toe his way approaching those parts of the racetrack now then. Through the right-hander there goes DeRosa, as more cars make their way out onto the racetrack now then. So DeRosa making his way into the double right-hander, so through the first part and then into the second part now then he will go before he makes his way towards the hairpin now then on the racetrack. And so that's pretty much that really, as he now makes his way into the hairpin. So now through the left-hander we go, as the Italian now then makes his way through the right-hander, and now approaching the next right-hander we go. A load of right-handers around this track, of course, as barely any left-handers around here at the Sepang International Circuit. As of all 22 cars out on the racetrack, I'm having to check on the stream, and yep, they all are, because at that part it was a little bit blurry for me. But anyway, as now DeRosa makes his way through the right-hander, as now he will start his lap very, very soon in the McLaren now then, taking him a little bit of a while to build up due to the conditions that we have here at the Sepang International Circuit. But DeRosa now they're making his way towards the final corner. Of course, a reminder as well, going into this qualifying session before DeRosa starts, of course, that there are two drivers out there who have got grid penalties for this race. They are, of course, Miklas Gau and Bartosz Kloss. Both of them have 5-place grid penalties, so wherever they end up in this qualifying session, they will drop 5 places back. As DeRosa now then starts his lap, as he will now make his way towards the first corner now then on the racetrack, as now in towards turns 1 and 2 we will soon approach. So through the long right-hander will go the Italian driver, and then into turn 2 we go. So now coming out of that turn now then we go, as coming around the right-hander we go through the long swooping turn 3 this is. They actually classed that right-hander as a corner, as now up towards turn 4. So 28.809 I think that says in the first sector for Kirishima DeRosa. No, it's 800 I should say. As in fact, whilst he's out there, I forgot to read the predictions there. I do apologise. Dennis has said both Aston Martins, both Williamses, and both Alfa Romeos. Kurisu has said both Aston Martins, both Williamses, and both McLarens. And Xavier has said both Williamses, both Alfas, and both McLarens. He thinks both Astons can make it through into Q2. But yeah, it was a 26.8 there in the first sector. Wilson slightly down on DeRosa in that first sector. Same with Galloway, in fact. So DeRosa's actually up on Galloway in the first sector in the McLarens. We've got a yellow flag into the final corner, meanwhile, as Roke has had a bit of an issue. As is that a mechanical problem? Because I'm pretty sure, in fact, Sontag and Roke have had a collision, but there wasn't supposed to be a pit stop, I don't think, because those two were starting a lap. So I don't know what's on earth's happened here. So we'll have to have a look at a replay here and see what on earth has kicked off here. And
that might be a crash.
I think there might have been an aquaplane moment here between the pair of them as we go. As well, in fact, no, Roke actually was a little bit clumsy there with Felix Sontag. I'm not exactly sure what was going on there between the pair of them, but they both ended their session as a direct result of that. Well, Roke came into the pits and had the pit entrance, but for Sontag, he's going to be a little bit fuming there that Roke crashed into him.
Well, you can see now the wing had completely fogged the wing had completely fogged George Roke's position, and now, well, he's gonna take a long time to get past throughout the race, though.
Indeed, and not sure if this is going to count for the spare car ban for George. I think it will do for Felix because, of course, it happened on track, but I'm not sure with George because, of course, he was trying to come into the pits or not. So I guess we'll get that verified by Yuri when we get a chance. But yeah, that's that really, as Roke obviously causing a bit of a collision there with Felix Sontag, and Sontag is definitely not going to be happy about that one. And well.
Just a clarification, I think it's 2 cars out, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, we'll have to see, because I know that Roke did crash into the pit lane entrance, but I'm not sure if this will count as just a pit glitch or whatever. But we'll have to wait and see and verify that with Yuri or not. But yeah, yellow flags out there. I think Sontag's spare car ban will get implemented. Not sure with George Roke, though. I'll have to wait and see on that one, as we try and pick up to where De Rosa was a bit earlier on. I'm not sure why we're riding on board with other cars, meanwhile. But yeah, I'm not sure why we're looking at more replays meanwhile. But yeah, well, obviously, I wonder if we'll get that verified with Yuri or not, whether we will get whether George will have to have the spare car ban implemented or not. I think, well, both of them were not coming into the pits, so. Yeah, I'm not sure. I think Sontag's is obviously count towards the spare car ban, but for Roke, because he was... well, wouldn't count Sontag. I'm not sure, to be honest, then.
Or maybe it's because of the conditions.
We'll have to see what Yuri decides on this one. Okay. Okay. Right. So this is what Yuri has said. Both Roke and Sontag have got the spare car ban implemented. However, if this incident happens again towards the session, then Q1 will be restarted. So that's that really. As so they have both got the spare car ban implemented because both of them were not planning to pit anyway. But if that repeats itself, then Q1 will restart. So that's what we're going with. So both Roke and Sontag are done for the session. As in fact, some cars are about to cross the line very, very soon, I think. And yep, De Rosa does a 1:50.605. We're now looking at Evan Byrne in the Red Bull. He crosses the line and goes only second on that occasion, so he's slower than De Rosa. Willows only third, 3 seconds off the pace. As I don't know if he made a mistake or not during that, but we now look at Videri now then, who is goes into fourth for Galloway and P3 for Patel. We're now looking at Chatfield, who's got a train of cars behind him as well. Chatfield crosses the line and he goes into fourth. P5 for Wilson, made that P6 because Perinin goes into second place. Kloss, meanwhile, goes into P5. Here comes Armar Carr, meanwhile, in the Mercedes as he goes into fourth position. Griffiths across the line and he goes into P11. P5 for Franco Lopez as Quad goes to the top by 0.8 of a second now. Then Laura Chung across the line as I think we had another yellow flag. In fact, yes, Q-Pox made a mistake coming around the right-hander here.
Let's see what happened there. Is it aquaplane? It is an aquaplane.
The aquaplane's going around that right-hander, and that won't have done his lap any good whatsoever. So his lap has been compromised as a result of that mistake. As we look at Martins, who crosses the line now then, and he goes into, I think that's P11, sorry, as Mocho goes into P5. Here comes Bence Valdinga across the line, and he goes into 13th position in the Alfa Romeo. Miklos Gal in the Alfa Tauri now then just comes out of the final turn as he now makes his way onto the pit straight. Across the line he goes, and he goes into P number 11. David Kupak, of course, will go into last because, of course, he made that driver error a little bit earlier on. As Galloway now makes a mistake going around the right-hander, and was this because of a collision with Videri? I'm not sure. Yep, he made a collision there, and Videri lost his front wing in the process there. So I think a little bit of a clumsy error from Jake Galloway there.
Yeah, unless he didn't see that one of the Aston Martin there, so yeah.
That's that really, but anyway, as now we look at, let's have a look and see what's going on around the field. So that's that, as I think that's the first one's done with. So it is Quarg who's currently at the top of the timing sheets by 0.8 of a second. As Sontag now gets his car hoisted over the barrier, so he will have the spare car ban implemented by the time he gets into the garage, and Yuri's just doing that now whilst we're looking at Sontag. He obviously doesn't need to pause the game anymore because he can do it now without the need of pausing it thanks to his new PC. So that's that really. I wonder if we'll get any pit lane entrance glitches though during this point in time. Of course, they will not count towards the spare car ban if that is the case, but we'll see anyway as a yep. Perrin, in fact,
all these.
As Perrin and as Chatfield now. In fact, Chatfield's actually saved it. So, in fact, he kind of proved you wrong there a little bit, Yuri. No crash there on that occasion, but Chatfield was able to save it on that occasion. Can everybody actually make it back to the pit safely for once? And could it actually be a little bit of a miracle here that could perform? Because we have had pit crashes here in the past, but it looks like we might actually get away with it for once.
I'm not gonna lie. Before that happened, I thought Chatfield spun inside at the pit entry, but now, well, oh my goodness, that's I don't know. I don't know if this is a touch or no in the pit lane.
Well, that's well, no, I don't think there was a touch. I think it was more just some oversteer there. But anyway, as Griffiths now then back in the garage, so Roke and Sontag sessions are done with, so they're going to be on the back row of the grid, and well, it will have to come down to the practice sessions really. So that will mean that Roke will be in 21st and Sontag will be in 22nd. But of course, they could go a little bit higher up the grid, of course, because let's not forget there are two drivers out there who do have grid penalties for this race. That being Miklos Gal and Bartosz Klos. So that could be the only way that those two could potentially get themselves off the back row of the grid. But we'll have to wait and see on that one. But it looks like only 20 cars taking part in Q1 as the Alfa Romeo gets a wheel back into the garage there as we wait now for the next car to make their way out onto the racetrack. A very good camera angle we have here at Sepang down in this pit lane. So Kupak and Gala now back in their garages respectively as we now wait to see who is going to go out on track next as Kupak now gets wheeled back into the garage now then, as it looks like a Lamborghini is going out first of all for the second runs, and that being Rahul Patel, so he's not wasting any time and he's going back out onto the racetrack now then. So Patel makes his way out on track as he now makes his way in towards turns 1 and 2 on the racetrack now then. So Patel through turn 1 he goes as he will now soon come towards turns 2 and 3. Looks like I think the other Lamborghini of Luo Chong I think was making her way out on track as well. So it looks like the Lamborghinis are not wasting too much time in getting out onto the track. But so far into the drop zone at the moment then, after that weird first flying lap we have Griffiths, Galloway, Videri and of course Kupak. Kupak of course making a mistake on his lap where he spun off at that right-hander there, but yeah, it'll be very interesting to see. I would imagine there'll be quite a few improvements on the second flying lap, but yeah, Quad currently at the top. De Rosa is in second. He had a pretty good first lap there, did De Rosa, but whether he can stay there or not, it remains to be seen. In terms of the top two teams, we've got Byrne in 4th, Carr in 6th, Lopez in 7th, and obviously Roke crashed out, of course. But of course, as mentioned, of course, that incident we saw between Roke and Sontag repeats itself in this session, and of course Q1 will be restarted, so we'll have to bear in mind on that one there as Patel now then makes his way through the right-hander now then he goes as he now makes his way in towards the next right-hander on the racetrack now then before making his way out of the corner now then before approaching the left and right hander now then we go. 1.7 seconds the gap between Quag and Patel meanwhile, as now coming out of the turn now then we go, as Patel will now make his way towards the final corner on the racetrack now then, as he will start his second flying lap very soon. Just looking around at the rest of the track, looks like everybody's basically created a bit of a gap to oneself. Well, I say that, there's actually two cars pretty close to each other coming around that double right-hander, but for the most part, it seems that everybody has basically put some distance between themselves to start the next lap. So Patel now then starts his next flying lap in the Lamborghini as he makes his way onto the pit straight, and now approaching turns 1 and 2, he will go on the racetrack now then. So into turn 1 goes the Lamborghini driver now then, as he will come around the first corner, and then into turn 2 now then will go Rahul Patel in the Lamborghini, as he will now make his way towards turn 3 now then, as he will go around this long swooping right-hander now then he will go before approaching turn number 4 on the racetrack. Patel now then, let's see what his first sector is like. He's 1/10 down on his personal best in the first sector, 6/10 down on Quag in sector 1 for the moment, as he'll now make his way towards the left and right-hander now then he will go, as he's trying to tippy-toe his way around there, trying to make sure he doesn't make any errors on this lap now then before he approaches the double right-hander now then, and now through into the first part and then into the second part now then we will go, as Patel now then making his way down towards the hairpin on the racetrack. Patel now then, let's see what his middle sector looks like. He was already down, of course, in sector 1. Let's see what sector 2 has in store, and he's 1/10 down in the middle sector, so he's kind of maintained the pace at the moment in the middle sector, but he's only lost about, I'd say, like a couple of hundredths or maybe even a couple of thousandths in that middle sector compared to his sector 1 time there. But now Patel making his way through the left and right-hander and hoping he doesn't aquaplane like we saw with Davey Kupak a little bit earlier on, and it looks like he doesn't, so he's keeping that one careful as possible now then. So Patel coming out of the right-hander now then, making his way down this back straight before approaching the final corner on the racetrack, and we'll see if he's able to find something in the last sector. I wasn't actually sure if Patel actually had any traffic or not, because of course we were mainly paying attention to what was going on between Roke and of course Sontag as well. So Patel now then making his way onto the pit straight with just over 6 minutes to go. He now crosses the line, and no improving, he stays where he is for the moment. Who is next on is Kirishima DeRosa, who's currently in second place. He's down on his personal best at the moment in the McLaren as he comes out of the final turn. So DeRosa now then across the line, he will go, and he does not improve. He stays where he is for the moment. Chris Chatfield currently up on his personal best meanwhile in the Ferrari as he now makes his way onto the pit straight and across the line now then he will go, and he goes only 12th with that lap. Joseph Willows up on his personal best, currently in 16th position. He crosses the line and goes up into 12th, gets in front of Chatfield. Wilson across the line, she goes up into P8 there. Pretty good effort there for Amelia Wilson. Andre Vaderi across the line in the Aston Martin, and he goes 17th. He's still in the drop zone. Byrne doesn't improve, he stays in 4th. Perinen now goes to the top by 7/10, so it's a Renault 1-2 at the moment. It's Perinen goes to the top of the timing sheet, as Valdinger doesn't improve, nor does Mocho, and Valdinger just in the cusp of the top 16, but now he's in the drop zone because Galloway goes up into 6th. Quag doesn't improve, he stays in 2nd. Carr now to the top by a 10th of a second, a 1 minute 48.824. Chung doesn't improve, she stays in 11th position. Martin's up on his personal best, he now crosses the line, and he goes up to 9th. A big effort there. P4 for Bartrish Kloss, a big improvement for the Haas driver, as Chatfield just in the cusp of the top 16. We now look at Franco Lopez, who's down on his personal best, currently in 9th, and he goes up to 7th, finds time in the last sector. 19th for Griffiths, he's still in the drop zone. Gal across the line he goes, and he goes up to 3rd, a big improvement there for him. Q-Pox stayed in the garage on that occasion, but should he have enough time to go back out on track? I would imagine he will, to give himself one more chance to go through into the next part of qualifying, but he needs to really, because he can't afford to make that mistake be the one that puts him out of Q number 2 of Q1 there. But yeah, so far a lot of improvements on that second flying lap, Hyan.
Yeah, indeed. And I was very shocked as well when both Reynolds were on the top, but until that our car just snatched that pole away. But yeah, it is a very impressive to if you see in these conditions.
Indeed, as we now wait to see if anybody will get one more lap in before the session comes to a close now then.
Especially Q-Pod, he has to hurry up though.
Indeed, as obviously we've got just under 3¾ minutes to go. It looks like I think I saw some mechanics coming out, but I think it was for cars coming in as opposed to cars coming out, of course. Will there be any pit lane entrance issues, of course? We'll have to wait and see. There is a couple of cars down the straight, but I think they might... In fact, Mocho's lost his front wing somewhere on the racetrack. I don't know where he's lost that front wing, but something's happened to Mocho. I think maybe on the in-lap here. Let's have a look, and it looks like he's had a bit of a collision here with, I think this is Bent Valdinga coming into the right-hander. So a similar thing to what we saw with Jake Galloway a little bit. So yeah, Jake, it was one of the Ferraris a little bit earlier on. I think it might have been Chris Chatfield, in fact. So he's got damage, but luckily for him, it didn't end in disaster, really, as Valdinga having to tuck back behind the Mercedes there as they all make their way back into the pit lane here at Sepang. But you don't need to worry anymore because they're all single file. But anyway, can Q-Pop get back out on track before the session comes to a close? We've got a yellow flag, in fact. Something happened. I think someone must have aquaplaned off. I think no, there has been a crash. It's Valdinga and car, but it won't, of course, count towards the spare. It won't count towards the spare car ban, of course, because it happened in the pit lane. But yeah, that's that really. As these guys are just avoiding Valdinga and car, but of course won't count towards the spare car ban because it is a pit lane entrance issue. But I thought for a minute they'd actually avoided contact, so I don't exactly know what happened.
Oh no!
In fact, there's a Lamborghini that's also been involved in that as well. I'm not sure which Lamborghini that was. It was either Chung or Patel, of course. But either way,
Chung, I'm mistaken.
You believe it was Chung? Not sure, yeah. But something has happened. In fact, it was Car who aquaplaned off, going into the pit lane, and also the same for
all three of them.
All three of them aquaplaned off at that part of the track. That's a bit of a bizarre one there, but yeah, I thought for a minute they got away with it because they went single file going into the pit lane. But yeah, ignore that. That is a pit lane entrance glitch, so it won't count towards the spare car ban. But yeah, that's that really. As Galloway's back in the pit lane, but has Q-Pot left it a little bit too late to go out onto the track? His car is in the garage. You can just see them. It looks like his mechanics are getting ready to send him out on the track, as you can see there. So has Q-Pot done enough to get out on track? I think he will do. So he will give himself one more chance to get himself through into the second part of qualifying, as he's having to wait, in fact, for Gal to get reversed back into pit lane before he can get going. So for Q-Pot, that's not ideal there for him, and now he's able to get going again, but I don't think he's going to be particularly happy with AlphaTauri, but at least he's given himself enough time to give himself one more chance to get through into the second part of qualifying. Is anybody else going to join him on the track, though? That's going to be the question, as Q-Pot now then makes his way out onto the racetrack now then. It looks like there is a car behind him, so there might be two cars that will get one more flying lap in, but Q-Pot just about out on track in time. 47 as DeRosa is on track, but he might have left it. It might be a little bit tight for him. We'll have to wait and see. So it could be. Looks like it's going to be either one or two cars that will get one more flying lap in before Q1 comes to an end. Well, DeRosa did come out on track, of course, but I don't know if he left it a little bit too late. We'll have to wait and see when we get to the line, of course.
All right, then only time will tell then.
Yep. So that's that really, as they're now coming around the right-hander now, then before approaching the left and right-hander on the racetrack. As so through the left and right-hander we will go. As Q-Pot now. Oh, Yuri's saying that Q-Pot might not make it, so we'll have to wait and see on that one as he makes his way through into the double right-hander there, as he comes out of the turn before making his way down towards the hairpin. As 1 minute to go, he's got 59 seconds to get to the line to give himself a chance to get through into the second part of qualifying. Otherwise, this could be a case of AlphaTauri messing up here with David Q-Pop. At the same time, he can only really blame himself really for making that mistake on the first flying lap, which saw him spin off the track. So that's pretty much that, as they now make their way through the right-hander. As now approaching the next left and right-hander we will go, as he's got 38 seconds left before the session comes to an end. So now approaching the penultimate turn on the racetrack goes David Q-Pop. So through the right-hander he goes, and then into the final corner will go the AlphaTauri driver now then, as he makes his way towards the final turn on the racetrack. As has he left himself enough time? I think he might actually, you know. Yeah, I think he will actually do enough. I think 20 seconds left. 19, 18, 17, and now 16, 15, and now 14, 13, 12, 11, and now 10, 9. I think he will do enough in the end. 8, 7, 6, 5. Yep, so Q-Pop gets a lap in. What about DeRosa? 4, 3, 2, 1. and 0. And in fact, can Byrne give himself enough time? No, he did. In fact, he hasn't got the pit indicator, so Byrne only just got a lap time in there. So 3 cars have given themselves one more flying lap each. So yeah, Kupok has given himself one more chance to get through into Q2. But for Valdinger, Videri, and Griffiths, they are out in Q1, along with, of course, Roke and Sontag, of course, who will be starting right at the back of the pack, unless, of course, Gal and Kloss. Well, for Sontag, I think, no, in fact, Sontag will be on the back row of the grid regardless, because Kloss and Gal have actually both got themselves through into Q2. So, yeah, for Rogue, he needs to hope that Gal or Kloss qualify in 16th to have a chance of getting off the back row of the grid. But we'll have to wait and see on that one, really, as Q-Pot now they're making his way towards the double right-hander on the racetrack now then, as he was down on his personal best in Sector 1. But, of course, let's not forget, he obviously spun on his first flying lap, so we can't really read too much on the death panel until we get by that bit where he spun off. So coming out of the hairpin now, then we goes David Kupok as he approaches the end of the second sector, but he's 1.2 seconds down on Armar Carr, who's currently at the top of the timing sheets. As now coming around that right-hander we go. So now coming towards the left-hander now, then we will go as they now come through the left and right-hander. It's cute. This is where, of course, he spun off earlier on, but this time, no such issues this time for the German driver. So through the right-hander goes David Kupok in the Alpha Tower as he now makes his way down the support pit straight now. Then David Kupok will now approach the final corner on the racetrack now. Then down the support pit straight he goes, and now heading towards the final corner will go David Kupok in the Alpha Tauri now then as he approaches the final turn. And onto the pit straight he goes. It looks like Byrne is actually going to overtake De Rosa here with a bit of slipstream, and he's actually up on his personal best, is Evan Byrne. So Kupok now then down the pit straight. Has he done enough to get through into Q2? Across the line he goes, and he has. He goes up into 11th, so that means that Chatfield is out of qualifying. So one Ferrari has been eliminated in Q1. Byrne goes up to 3rd. De Rosa doesn't improve, and he stays in 7th. But that is Q1 done with Carr, Perinen, and Byrne as your top 3, and your bottom 6 are Chris Chatfield, Bent Valdinger, Andre Videri, Jamie Griffiths, George Roke, and Felix Sontag. So, yeah, that's pretty much that then for Q1. But, yeah, so we're just going to take a brief pause for the moment whilst Yuri gets Q2 prepared. But in the meantime, you could let us know your prediction on who you believe will be eliminated in the second part of qualifying. But for the meantime, I'm going to mute myself. I think Hyam will also mute himself as well, as I will get the tweet prepared for Twitter. So apologies if I go silent for a little bit. Okay, I am back, and the tweet is now up on Twitter, of course. And well, it was a very, very eventful Q1 in the end there. Then, and well, it was quite an interesting one indeed. And whether we'll get the same in Q2, Hyan, I'm not 100% sure.
Well, we're about to see though. Actually, I'm still thinking about the prediction for the drivers will be who will be out of the Q2. Again, I'm still trying to think.
Well, yeah, it should be quite interesting. I'm not sure if we're still going to have monsoon conditions though when we get to Q2. But yeah, it was a very, very eventful Q1, it must be said. And of course, it will mean that both Roke and Sontag, well, for Roke at least, he's going to have a lot of work to do in tomorrow's race, of course. The man who won last time out at the Japanese Grand Prix with a lot of work to do if he wants to get anything out of the Malaysian Grand Prix tomorrow. Of course, he did have a good drive, of course, last time out at Austria, of course, where we got second place. So who knows if he could have another good performance tomorrow in Malaysia. But we'll have to wait and see on that when we get to tomorrow's race, of course. But that's that really, as the dog commentator's going off in the background. But
I can hear it now.
that's that really. As now, obviously we're just waiting for Yuri to get everything prepared for Q2, and it's going to be quite an interesting session, I think. But whether or not we'll have these monsoon conditions or not, we'll have to wait and see. Of course, Roke may not be on the back road, of course, as we mentioned in Q1, because of course Gal and Kloss do have a 5-place grid penalty for this race, so he could find himself off of the back road, but either way, he's still going to have a lot of work to do regardless of whether or not Gal and Kloss end up in 16th in Q2 or not. But yeah, we'll have to wait and see really on that one, how that one kind of goes really. But yeah, for Sontag, unfortunately for him, he will start in last regardless of Gal and Kloss's penalty, because of course obviously both Gal and Kloss made it through into the second part of qualifying, and well, the lowest position you can get in Q2 is obviously 16th, and if you take away 5 from that, if you add 5 to that, then of course it makes 21, so obviously you can't really reach 22nd position as a direct result of that really. But yeah, it's going to be quite an interesting session, I think, and who knows really what weather's going to be like for tomorrow's race here at Malaysia. It could be something to keep an eye on. Could we have a 2020-esque race, or could we just have a race that what we had in 2021 where we're in bone dry conditions? But yeah, it's going to be quite an interesting one, that is for sure. But of course, we still need to set up the grid, of course, for tomorrow's race to see where and if everybody's going to be positioned, of course, and that's that. But anyway, Q2 about to get underway, so we've just been sent the stream, and it looks like it is monsoon conditions again, but it looks like there's less water on the track than what there was in Q number 1. As you can see, it's the water filter on the left-hand side is kind of a little bit lower than what it was in Q1. But without any further ado, let us get on with Q number 2. So in terms of my predictions for Q number 2, I am going to say, as a result, who I believe will be eliminated, I'm going to say Martins, Wilson. I'm also going to say both McLarens will get eliminated, I think. As will, I think I'm going to also say a Lamborghini, and I'm also going to say one final one. I'm also going to say a AlphaTauri, but as Yuri's just pointing to us whilst I was giving out my prediction there, one of the drivers is on normal wet tyres. So we've got some on the extreme wets, but someone has gone out there onto the normal wet tyres. And in fact, it's Amelia Wilson that's going to try her luck on the normal wet tyres. Is she the only one on the normal wets, it seems? And just looking around the rest of the lineup, I think she is. So Wilson is the only one on the normal wet. She's going to try it out and see if it actually works out or not. She's taken a little bit of a gamble going on the normal wet tyres, but David Cupart, the man who only just was able to scrape through into Q2, has gone out onto the track, as I'll now read everybody's predictions in the stream chat now then. So Hyan, the commentator himself, has said one AlphaTauri, one Lamborghini, one Alfa, one Williams, and both Renaults. He's actually gone a little bit risky there and said both Renaults. Xavier Wee has said both McLarens, both Aston Martin. Well, both Aston Martins are not in it, Xavier. One of them got eliminated in Q1. That was Vaderi, so you'll have to try again on that one. And yeah, so that's that. So you can't have both Astons, because only one of them made it through into Q2. So I'll say one Aston and both AlphaTauris for you. So you'll have to come up with another one there, Xavier. So That's that really, is now Q-Pop just making his way around the right-handers. A few more cars make their way out onto the racetrack here at the Sepang International Circuit as Q-Pop prepares to start his first flying lap of Q2 in just a little bit now. Then there's 10 cars currently on track as we wait for the other 6 to make their way out on track very, very soon now. Then as Q-Pop makes his way through into the hairpin as another car has just filtered their way out onto the racetrack. But yeah, that's that really. As Q-Pop now they're making his way through into the right-hander now. Then we go as he'll be preparing for the lap. Just 2 more cars, but that 1 more car. There's 15 cars out on track. Now all 16 are out, so Q-Pop is not going to get any traffic on his first flying lap in theory.
Oh, really? Oh.
Yeah, both Williamses did get eliminated in the first part of qualifying. Of course, Sontag crashed out and Griffiths also got eliminated there. So that's that. So yeah,
Well,
that's that. Yes, so that's that really. As now Xavier's actually corrected himself, and he's actually said 1 Aston and 1 Lambo there. So that's that. But anyway, David Q-Pop has just started his lap now. Then it looks like the sky is a little bit clearer than what it was in Q1, but that could just be for the fact that Q-Pop's not behind anyone on the racetrack. As now Q-Pop comes around turns 1 and 2 on the racetrack as he makes his way through into turn 2. A few other cars have just started their laps as well as he now makes his way through the right-hander now, then in the AlphaTauri, through the long swooping right-hander. He will go as he'll now make his way towards the end of the first sector now, then in the AlphaTauri, as he does a 20, I think that's a 25.510 in the first sector there for David Q-Pop, and it is. So a pretty strong first sector there. So it looks like we are getting some faster lap times than what we saw in Q number 1. It looks like, so maybe, who knows really, maybe Wilson's strategy to go on the normal wets might actually work out. We'll have to wait and see on that one really, as Q-Pop now then making his way in towards the double right-hander. Just looking at Wilson's first sector, has she crossed the first sector yet? Yes, she has. A 25.8, so she is slightly down on Q-Pop, but still relatively okay in the first sector. So Q-Pop now then coming out of the hairpin. Let's see what his second sector will curtail. A 1 minute 2.322 in the middle sector there for the German driver as he now makes his way through the right-hander and now making his way towards the left and right-hander. He'll soon approach on the racetrack now. Then so through the left and then through into the right-hander now. Then we go as he'll now make his way into the penultimate turn. He will go as he uses a bit of curb on the inside before making his way down at the back straight before approaching the final corner on the racetrack. Let's see what David Q-Pop is able to do now then as he now makes his way down the straight and then into the final corner he will go, and we'll see what the benchmarker time is going to be then from the AlphaTauri driver. Through the final turn goes David Q-Pop. No mistakes unlike what we saw in Q1 for the German driver as he now makes his way onto the pit straight, and across the line will go David Q-Pop in the AlphaTauri as he crosses the line, and he does a 1 minute 45.574 there. So that is the benchmarker time for everybody to beat. Johannes Martins across the line. He will go as he goes into second place. Galloway goes second himself, 1 second off of Q-Pop. Wilson goes second, 7 tenths off on the normal wet tyre. So not a bad effort there for Amelia Wilson. Laura Chung goes into third, over a second behind David Q-Pop. Here comes Kirishima DeRosa in the McLaren as he will now come across the line himself, and he goes into what is 5th position. Jesus Perinen in the Renault, he comes across the line himself. Where's he going to go? And he goes fastest by 7 tenths of a second. Bartosz Kloss in the Haas now then comes across the line himself, and he goes into 3rd place. Perinen actually broke into the 1 minute 44s, mind you there. So Miklos Gal, not the best of laps it looks like, as he now comes across the line and he goes into 9th position. Not the best first lap there for Miklos Gal. Joseph Willows across the line he goes, and he goes into 9th himself, just a little bit in front of Miklos Gal though. As he now look at Franco Lopez in the Mercedes, just comes out of the final turn. What can the championship leader do as he makes his way onto the pit straight? Doesn't look like he's able to match Jesus Perinen at the moment, but Lopez comes across the line, only good enough for 4th on that occasion. Byrne goes quickest meanwhile by 4 tenths as Mocho goes into 4th, so 4th and 5th so far for the 2 Haas drivers. Armar Carr across the line, he will go in the Mercedes and he goes into 7th place. Here comes Roman Quag in the Renault now then, as he will now come across the line and he goes into 10th position, and that is P number 5 there for Rahul Patel. A very good first lap for him there, and that has put Quag into the drop zone as a result. So that's that really. So Byrne is at the top of the moment, Brennan in second, and Q-Pop currently in 3rd, and currently in the drop zone we have Quag, Galloway, DeRosa, Martins, Willows and Gal. But yeah, for Roman Quag, he needs to step it up on that second flying lap line if he wants to get through into Q3.
Well, Well, you can say that. He needs to get a little bit of a strategy if he wants to like get into Q3 with no problems.
Yep, indeed, and of course we know that Perrin has got some good pace in that Renault at the moment, as he's currently 4 tenths away from Evan Byrne at this stage. We've got just under 9 minutes to go in this session now. Then, as Q-Pot now then making his way into pit lane now then. But yeah, that's that really, as Q-Pot now then approaches the pit lane now then in the Alpha Tauri, as I screen for some
Oh,
reason.
yellow flag.
We got a yellow flag just as my screen decided to freeze. I think that might be a pit entrance glitch there. That's just happened there, and not sure who that is, but
I'm the one to check us out.
yeah, it looks like another pit lane entrance glitch. So it looks like Yuri's not going to bother to check on that one, as that's that. There is somebody in the pit lane entrance, as you can see there. So it is a pit entrance glitch, and I would imagine that the person who that is probably going to come out onto the track first of all. Of course, that doesn't count towards the spare car ban, but Yuri's not going to bother looking at who that was that did that pit entrance glitch. So that's that. It's only really a problem in qualifying. Of course, we don't really see this in the race. It's a bit of a rarity when it comes to the race, and I think this might be here with Patel and this Renault here with Roman Quag. As, and it looks like I think Patel might go a little bit too quick here, which
Oh
he
no, okay,
did.
goes.
And in fact, both of them survived, as I had a little bit of a lag moment there on my end. I do apologise for that. I might have been lagging a little bit on my end. But anyway, as they've actually survived on that occasion. But yeah, that's the first run's done with them. With Byrne currently at the top, but Quag needs to get a move on if he wants to try and go through. And I think it must have been the Aston Martin that was the one that crashed at the pit entrance, because an Aston Martin is going out on track. Along with a couple of other cars as well. Chung's going out, but I think there's an Aston Martin in front of her. There is, and I think that will be Joantis Martins, of course. So Martins is first on track in front of Laura Chung there, although for some reason the camera is not going to Martins. There we go. Martins is out on track first as he makes his way through into turn 2. I wonder if as Martins comes out of there, but now coming around the long swooping right-hander we go. Chung has made her way out on track as well. So we've only got 2 cars out there at the present moment. There is Chung who's just come out of the turn there. As I wonder if Wilson will actually stick onto the normal wets, or whether she'll actually switch onto the extreme wets like everybody else was doing on that occasion. That will be something to keep an eye on that regard. But anyways, now Martins goes around the right-hander now then, as he will now approach the double right-hander on the racetrack in the Aston Martin. So through the first part and then into the second part now then we'll go Joantis Martins, as he will now make his way towards the hairpin. And he'll be seeing if he could try and get his Aston Martin through into Q3 if he can. And of course, as we mentioned in the practice session, Martins is obviously moving to Renault next season alongside Roman Quag. So he'll be hoping to have a good show for Aston Martin in his remaining 6 races of 2022. But Martins now they're making his way towards the left and right-hander. He will go so through the left and then into the right-hander now. Then will go the Brazilian, as he now makes his way into the penultimate corner, as he'll now make his way onto the support pit straight, and now he will approach that final corner very, very soon on the racetrack, as Martins now then approaches the final corner very, very soon with just under 6 minutes to go in this session now then, as he will now start his lap. Still 3 cars in the pit lane, so I wonder if Martins will get any traffic or not. We'll have to wait and see as Martins comes out of the final turn onto the pit straight. Is he going to have any traffic? Just keep an eye on the pit lane exit as we look to this angle. There is a car coming, but I think Martins has got away with it. Yes, he has. Looking on the minimap, so Martins will get a clean lap on this occasion as he makes his way through into turn 1 there. But yeah, Martins now then through into turn 2. Will go the Brazilian driver now then, as he will now make his way around turn 3 on the racetrack. Lopez has just come out on track. Quag still needing to go out onto the racetrack in the Renault. I think he's about to, looking at the mini map. So yep, I think Quag has just come out on track. But Martins 1/10 up on his personal best meanwhile in the first sector. Now in 4/10 down on Byrne in sector 1 at this stage, as now he makes his way through the long swooping left-hander. Now then he goes so through the left and then into the right-hander. Now then we will go, as now he will approach the double right-hander on the racetrack with just under 5 minutes to go here in Q2. So through the first part and then into the second part now then we will go, as Martins now then making his way down towards the hairpin he will soon approach. So that's that really, and let's see what sector 2, is going to look like for him. And he is 55 thousandths up, so he's lost a little bit of time in sector 2 because he was a 10th up in the first sector, but it's now 55 thousandths that we are seeing in that middle sector. Let's see if Martins can keep that can maybe try and find some time in this last sector there. So it looks like I don't think he's going to be able to get the car through into the top 10, but maybe he can get himself above Kirishima De Rosa. We'll have to wait and see. But Martins comes out of the penultimate turn, making his way onto the support pit straight now. Then he goes. A Lamborghini of Chung is just behind also on a lap now then as Martins makes his way into the final corner and onto the pit straight now then. He will go as Martins now then making his way onto the pit straight and across the line now then. He will go as Martins now making his way across the line, and he does improve to go into 13th. He found some time in the last sector to improve on that and go nearly 2 tenths quicker than De Rosa there. Chung doesn't improve, and she stays in 10th position, so she's still just in the cusp of the top 10 at the moment. Here comes David Kupak, who's currently in 3rd place at the moment, but so far looks like he's not on an improvement at the moment, is the German driver, as Kupak now then comes across line, and he does not improve. I wonder if that Renault may have held him up there, just as Quag was coming out the pit.
Yeah, he
Here
did.
comes De Rosa, and thanks for that clarification. De Rosa now then just comes out of the final turn, and it looks like he's not on an improvement. He crosses the line, and he actually finds some time in the last sector, but he's still in the drop zone and goes up to 13. Galloway gets himself into the top 10. Chung is into the drop zone, and she could be in trouble because she's just finished her lap. Wilson stays in 9th place, so she's still in the top 10. Willows was up on his personal best, but he's just been overtaken there by Evan Byrne, so could Byrne there potentially cost Willows a chance to get through into the final part of qualifying. Let's see. Byrne across the line he goes. No improvement for him. Willows, he goes into 11th, so I think without that overtake, I think Willows could have gone into the top 10 there. He's not going to be happy with Byrne one bit, I don't think. Meanwhile, Carr up on his personal best. Can he go quicker than Evan Byrne? Let's see. He's currently in 8th place. Carr onto the pit straight and across the line he goes, and he goes up into 3rd position, not able to beat Byrne on that occasion. If Perrinan actually goes a little bit wide there going into the final corner, as he had a little bit of a lock-up going into there, and it looks like a bit of an aquaplane moment here for the Spaniard.
Oh, yeah, he is. The aquaplaning now, and he's nearly going to the pit.
And luckily he was able to save it, but luckily for him he's up in 2nd place anyway, so I think he's safe to go through into Q3 regardless. Gal up on his personal best, he goes up into 5th place, pushes Galloway into the drop zone. Meanwhile, Kloss across the line, he doesn't improve, he stays in 8th. Patel across the line, he doesn't improve and he stays in 7th. Michael Mocho not up on his personal best, he crosses the line and he stays in 6th place for the moment, as Lopez is on a lap meanwhile and he's up on his personal best. Where is Lopez in fact? He is currently in 9th place, so he's just inside the top 10 at the moment. He's getting some nice slipstream there from Laura Chung, who I believe is going to be out of qualifying as a result. She's down in 13th. Same for Jake Galloway and Joseph Willows. As now Franco Lopez onto the pit straight. Can he improve? Across the line goes the championship leader, and he goes fastest by 53 thousandths of a second. Lopez to the top of the time machines. Quag is on an improvement. He needs to really because he's currently in the drop zone. Can he push Wilson out of qualifying? Quag across the line, and he goes up into 8th. So Wilson has been pushed out of qualifying, and she will miss out on a Q3 slot. She goes into 11th place, and that will be Q2 done with. Nobody else will be able to do a lap. So as a result, Wilson, Galloway, Willows, Chung, De Rosa, and Martins, those 6 drivers, have been eliminated in the second part of qualifying there. But yeah, unlucky for Wilson, just missing out on a Q3 appearance in the Alfa Romeo.
Yeah, very unlucky for her because with the result that happened, and well, only the race remains. Will she ever make a comeback? We're about to find out at the race then.
Yep, of course, but she will start in P number 11, of course. In fact, no, I think she might be, but she could be a bit higher, of course, because both Gal and Kloss have made it through into Q3, and of course, they've got the 5-place grid penalty, so we'll have to wait and see what happens with those two in Q3, because obviously, wherever they end up in the third part of qualifying, they will drop 5 places back, of course, so that's that really, as Quag now then just about making it through into Q3. So both Renaults making it through there pretty safely indeed. So yeah, that's pretty much that really. As now we will wait for the seconds to tick down, of course, as some people will get some mileage during this time, I would imagine, as Gal comes back into the box now then for AlphaTauri with just 30 seconds left, 28, 27, 26. So a few seconds left, and then, of course, we'll head back to the menu screens to see what the result looks like, as now Gal gets wheeled back into the garage. So both Both AlphaTauris go through into Q3, as do both Haas's now. Then, so they go through pretty safely indeed. And well, as that's that really. As now. Wait, 2 seconds left, 1-0, and the checker flag is out. That is Q2 done with. So Lopez, Byrne, and Perinen are your top 3 in this session, and your bottom 6, as a reminder, of course, are Amelia Wilson, Jake Galloway, Joseph Willows, Laura Chong, Kirishima DeRosa, and Joantis Martin. So, we're just going to take a brief pause for the moment while Yuri gets prepared for the final part of qualifying. But in the meantime, guys, you can let us know your prediction on who you believe will take pole position for tomorrow's Malaysian Grand Prix. But in the meantime, me and Hyan are going to mute ourselves for the moment, and as I also go and get the tweet prepared for Twitter, so apologies if we go silent for a little bit. I'm back, and that is got the tweet sorted out there. But yeah, an interesting qualifying, it's safe to say, so far here at Sepang. And well, it's going to be quite interesting to see how the two drivers with the grid penalties are going to affect the grid for tomorrow's Malaysian Grand Prix, because both of them, of course, made it through into the final part of qualifying there. And well, it looks like at the moment, well, the Mercedes is so far, well, except towards the end of the session, as my door has just randomly opened itself there. It'll be interesting to see who's going to get pole position, but we're about to get underway, and it looks like it will be monsoon conditions again, and it looks like the water has increased from the last session. So let's get underway with the final part of qualifying. And in terms of who I believe is going to get pole position, I'm going to actually go a little bit risky here. I'm actually going to say Jesus Perinen for pole position, because he has looked pretty strong in the first two sessions in that Renault. So I'm going to go bold and say Jesus Perinen here for pole position. But it looks like... Indeed so. But everybody is on the extreme wet tyres now then, as we're getting set for the final part of qualifying now then, as I just go and shut my door, because it just randomly opened there. But there we go. It does have a little bit of an issue, that door does, if I'm being honest with you. It doesn't really click properly when you shut it. You have to literally lift the door to get it clicked into place, really. But yeah, that's that, really. But anyway, about to get underway for the final part of qualifying here at Sepang. Once again, extreme wet weather conditions here for the final part of qualifying as we wait to see who's going to be the first to go out onto the racetrack and set their first lap of Q number 3. As we're currently in the cockpit of David Cupok's Alpha Tauri. And so far, it looks like he's about to go out, but I think he might be beaten here because there is some movement in the pit lane. And yep, he will. He gets beaten by Jesus Perinen in the Renault. So he's going to be the first to go out onto the racetrack now then. And that's that really. As now Perinen makes his way out on the racetrack now then to start his warm-up lap for the first lap of Q number 3. As Perinen now then making his way through into the first couple of corners on the racetrack. Bartosz Kloss has also just come out on track for Haas now then as they come out of turn 2. And coming out of turn 3. I was just about to do that as coming around there. But anyway, as we now read the poll predictions then in the stream chat. As so let's have a look and see what people have put for pole position. For some reason the scroll is not working properly here on for me on the YT stream, so apologies for that. But yeah, that's that really. As I'm hearing it seems like a vacuum cleaner outside. But anyway, let's have a look at your predictions then for pole position then. So Magal has said Armor Car will take pole position. Kurisu has said Byrne will take pole. Dennis has said Lopez for pole position. Hyen has said Lopez for pole. Ra has said Byrne for pole position. Xavier has said Roke. He said Roke, but I think he realises that Roke has actually. I don't think he's realised that Roke has actually crashed out of qualifying, so he's not in it. So you can't actually predict Roke there, Xavier. Try someone else. But anyway, as now coming around towards the left and right hander now, then we go. As Perinen will start. I think all 10 cars are now out on the racetrack now. Then as Perinen will make his way out of the penultimate turn before making his way towards the final corner on that racetrack. He will soon approach. And so that's pretty much done really. As now Perinen will make his way towards the final corner on the racetrack now. Then as Perinen now then will prepare to start his first flying lap of Q number 3 now then as he makes his way onto the pit straight now then we go. As Perinen now then making his way across the line to start his first flying lap of Q number 3 now then. As Perinen now then will make his way towards turns 1 and 2 on the racetrack now then as he will make his way towards the first 2 corners. So through turn 1 goes Jesus Perinen in the Renault now then. As now into turn 2 he goes, tippy-toeing his way around this part of the track now then. Obviously very treacherous here at Sepang because here in Malaysia when it rains it definitely pours down quite a lot here, and obviously being in a very tropical part of the world you are expected to see these kinds of conditions really. So as Perinen does a 26.8867 I think that says in the first section, which he does, so that's that then. And so that's that really. I think there might have been a bit of crackling there with the sound. I do apologise there. I think Yuri's OBS kind of went off a little bit there. He's had a few crackling issues before in the past with his OBS since he got a new PC for some reason. Although we didn't get it in Japan, which is a little bit strange. So it seems like it's returned here in Malaysia for some strange reason. In fact, I don't think we had it yesterday either in the Formula E race that we had at Dubai. So a little bit of a strange one there with OBS. But anyway, Perinen now coming out of the hairpin now there he goes as he comes towards the end of the second sector. And he does a 1 minute 5.823. Sorry, 423, sorry, in the middle sector as he now makes his way through into the right-hander we go, and now approaching the left and right-hander we will soon approach on the racetrack. So through the left and then through into the right-hander now then we will go as he will now make his way into the penultimate corner. So far no mistakes so far from the 2019 BTCC champion as he now makes his way down the back straight he goes before approaching the final turn on the racetrack. And let's see what Perinen can do then on his first flying lap of Q3 now. And so Perinen making his way in towards the final corner and now making his way onto the pit straight now. Then he will go as there is now 10.5 minutes to go in this session, of course, as Perinen will set the benchmark of time for everybody to beat. Jesus Perinen across the line he will go in the Renault. He crosses the line and he does a 1 minute 50.770 there. As we now look at Bartosz Kloss, who crosses the line and he goes quickest by, I think, just over a second there. So a pretty good lap there for Bartosz Kloss. Not the best first lap there then for Jesus Perinen. Here comes Miklos Gau in the Alpha Tauris. He now makes his way onto the pit straight. Across the line he will go, and he goes into third position. David Cupok across the line he will go, and he goes into second place. Here comes Rahul Patel in the Lamborghini now then as he makes his way into the final corner and onto the pit straight now. Then he will go as it's just a second between Kloss and Q-Pop. Meanwhile, as he now makes his way onto the pit straight, goes Rahul Patel as he will now make his way across the line. And he goes into 4th position. Roman Quagg in the Renault now then comes across the line himself as he now crosses the line and he goes into 4th position behind teammate Perin. And Macho across the line and he goes into 4th position. Here comes Franco Lopez in the Mercedes. He now comes onto the pit straight across the line. He will go and he goes quickest by 0.5 of a second in the end. So Lopez to the top, Carr across the line himself and he goes into 3rd place. Evan Byrne across the line goes into 3rd place himself. And they are the first runs done with Lopez at the top by 0.5 of a second, but Kloss in 2nd place. A little bit of a shame, really, that he's got the 5-place grid penalty, because that was a very good, very good first lap there for Kloss. It's a bit of a shame, as mentioned, High, that he's got the 5-place grid penalty.
Yeah, indeed, because I checked on each of the sectors, and I found out that Kloss has like a fastest sector 1, which is like I think it was like 25.2 or 5, I'm not so sure. But yeah, it's a real shame.
And that is a real shame he's got the penalty. So at the moment, if it were to stay like this, Kloss will start in 7th for tomorrow's race, and Miklos Gau, who's down in 10th, will start in 15th for tomorrow's race if it were to stay like this. So that would mean that Wilson will get promoted into a top 10 spot for the grid tomorrow. So that's how it looks, but we've still got a second flying lap to do, so things could still change in the remaining 8 3/4 minutes in this session as Perinin now comes back into the pits for Renault now then, as he will come back in, as he'll be wanting to share the information back to the team, as he'll be looking to try and see what he can do for the second flying up and see if he can improve on that 1.7 second deficit that he's got to Franco Lopez. He's currently in 6th place at the moment. He says it's Perin, but knowing him, he'll want to do better. That is for sure. I guess in a way for Byrne, it's a bit of a relief that Kloss has that grid penalty, because if it were to stay like this, he'll be on the front row with his rival Franco Lopez in the championship, and I'm sure that Byrne will definitely be determined to try and jump him at the start if it were to stay like this. But Kloss is in the pit lane in P2 at the moment, but again, it's a real shame that he's got the 5-place grid penalty, because without it, he would have been on the front row if it were to stay like this. But of course, it could all change. Things could still change in his remaining 8 minutes of the session, as both Alpha Tauris now they make their way back into pit lane. Q-Pop currently in 5th, be 4th at the moment if it were to stay like this due to Kloss's penalty. Just bear with.
Well, there you go. Well, they're still going, but anyway, we've seen that. What will say? Okay, so we've seen that our card is just somehow get exactly a second there in done in 4th. He was originally in 4th, but because of the cross penalty, so he will be up to 3rd. And let's see. I think it's a very impressive one for Cupol here. He will be at the 5th place. So yeah, again because of the penalty, so he will be on 4th. So it is a very good one for David Cooper, who's driving for Alpha Tauri here. So yeah, my apologies for the cough. As right now we're still waiting for the any that was gonna come out for the maybe second line, and it is like one of the I think it's one of the runners there. Yeah, it is one of the runners, and that was Jesus Benitez, if I pronounce it correctly or not.
Perinin. It's Jesus Perinin in the end. Perinin. So yeah, that's how you pronounce it. So Perinin now out onto the racetrack now then for Renault, as currently back on the extreme wet tyres and looking to see if he can improve, because 1.7 seconds off the pace, I'm not sure that's really ideal, considering so far in the first 2 sessions of qualifying he's definitely had some very good pace in that Renault, but yeah, it just seems that so far he's not been able to hook it up. But still time to improve, as we're possibly looking at the final flying laps here, judging from how much time there is left on the clock and also the conditions that we have here at the Sepang International Circuit. So that's probably something to bear in mind there then, as Perina makes his way through the left and right-hander. We will go on the racetrack, as he will be preparing to start his next flying lap very, very soon. Kupok and Lopez and also Gal have just made their way out on track as well, so still 5 more cars needing to come out onto the track. Kloss has also just come out on track meanwhile, as has Tell. So Burn Car, Mocho and Quark still needing to come out at this stage, as Perinin just making his way through into that left-handed hairpin before coming around the right-hander on the racetrack, as now Perinin will make his way in towards the right-hander now. Then he goes before he makes his way towards the left and right hander. He'll soon approach now. There's a Perinin now then through into the left and right, as there's still Mocho, Car and Burn that still need to come out onto the track. So the question is, will Perinin come out in any form of traffic? We'll have to wait and see. I'm not sure if the sky is actually getting a little bit brighter there, because it did look like it was a little bit brighter at that part of the track, but not entirely sure there, if I'm being totally honest. But yeah, that's that really. It's Perinin now then makes his way down towards the final corner on the racetrack now. Then as Perinin makes his way through the last corner, through into the left-hander he goes. He'll now make his way onto the pit straight as Perinin now then comes down the pit straight to start what could be his second and final flying lap of qualifying now. Then Perinin starts his lap in the Renault. There is a car coming out, but I think it's a little bit too far away for him. So Perinin will get a clear run, and I think that Red Bull of obviously Evan Byrne is too far away for him to catch up to. So I don't think Perinin's going to have any traffic issues on this occasion. Perinin through into turn 2 now, then he will go, as he will now make his way around the right-hander now. Then he goes, this long swooping right-hander will go to Spaniard. Let's see what his first sector is going to look like compared to his personal best. Up towards sector 1 now, then he goes, and he's 1/10 up on his personal best, 2/10 down. There, Franco Lopez at this stage as he now comes out of turn 4 there before approaching turns 5 and 6 on the racetrack now. This is through the left and right-hander now then he will go. I do believe this circuit has corner names, but I actually can't remember them off by heart. So that's that really. As now coming towards the double right-hander we go. We did see a couple of mistakes here during Q1 when we had all 22 cars out on the track. So that's that really. As Perinin now they're making his way down towards the hairpin on the racetrack now. Then he goes. As now the Spaniard now then comes around the left-hander. Let's see what his middle sector looks like compared to his personal best. And he's actually lost time in the middle sector. 92 thousandths down in the middle sector for Perinin. There wasn't any noticeable signs of a mistake, so it just seemed like he couldn't really hook up that middle sector there, could Perinin. As we'll have to wait and see if he's able to gain some time back in the last sector or not. But it's a little bit... Okay, Yuri believes that Perinin may have locked up just before the sector 2 line, so that's why he might have lost time. But I didn't personally see it, but I think Yuri might have just spotted it unseen by me and High in there. So that's that. As now Perinin makes his way towards the final corner now then on the racetrack, as the Spaniard now then makes his way through the final turn. Is he able to try and gain some time back in this last sector or not? Perinin onto the pit straight he goes now, then he makes his way down the pit straight and across the line will go Perinin, and the answer to that is no. He doesn't improve and he stays in 6th place. Gal meanwhile is up on his personal best in the Alpha Tauri, and he needs to get as far up as he can because of course he'll have the 5-place grid penalty to contend with. As now Gal makes his way down the support pit straight now, then he's got one of the Mercedes following him behind as well, but now Gal makes his way towards the final corner on the racetrack now, into the final turn and onto the pit straight now. Then we'll go Miklos Gal in the Alpha Tauri now then as he makes his way onto the pit straight, and Gal comes across the line now then, and let's see where is he going to go. Gal across the line and he goes into 9th place, only gains a place for the moment as now Lopez across the line and goes fastest even more. There's a 148.611, so improves on his best time there. Q-Park, no improvement. Kloss across the line, he stays in 2nd place, will be 7th if it stays like this for the moment. Rahul Patel up on his personal best in the Lamborghini. He now comes across the line now then, and he goes 10th really. He didn't improve by that much. Quarg up on his personal best meanwhile, as he's actually up on it. Well, that kind of read that wrong there because of course we have the little graphic issue, but he is up only by 10th, so he lost a little bit in the middle sector there compared to the first sector where he was 2/10 up. So let's see what Quark can do then in the final sector. He's currently in 8th place at the moment, is the Renault driver. Let's see what he can do this time by. So Roman Quark across the line, he will go and he goes into 7th place, takes a place off of Mocho. Car is not up on his personal best and he's currently in 4th place. It will be 3rd at the moment due to Kloss's 5-place grid penalty. So that's that really. So Car across the line he goes and he stays in 4th position. Mocho onto the pit straight now, then he goes. He's down on his personal best, currently in 8th place at the moment is the Portuguese driver. Mocho across the line and he does not improve, he stays in 8th place. Byrne meanwhile up on his personal best. What can he do compared to Franco Lopez now then? Could he potentially stop Lopez from getting pole position here? Can he make it 3 poles in a row? Byrne now then down the pit straight across the line, he will go, and no he can't. He only goes up into 2nd place really, so he's only able to gain 1 place, and that is going to be qualifying done with. Nobody's going to be able to set another time, so it means that Franco Lopez will take pole position for tomorrow's Malaysian Grand Prix, but he has got Evan Byrne alongside him on the front row for company, so that's going to be very interesting in the title battle between those two, considering they're only separated by 1 point going into this race, of course. Kloss finished the session in 3rd, but because of his 5-place grid penalty, he will start in 8th for tomorrow's race, so he'll start right behind Michael Mocho on the grid, and Miklos Gau will start in 14th due to his 5-place grid penalty after finishing in 9th in this session. So they are the grid penalties to be aware of there, as Lopez now then comes into the pits as we wait for the seconds to tick down, and then of course we will then have a look at how Lopez was able to get that pole position, as he was able to improve on his second flying lap there, and well, a well-deserved pole for Lopez, you'd have to say, Hyan.
Yeah, indeed, and I think he's the first man who entered the 1 minute 48, if I'm not mistaken, because the gap between himself and Byrne was like 6/10, so yeah, I think he is.
Yep, he is the only one into the 1 minute 48 in this session, so Byrne was not able to do anything on his final flying lap there, as he was up on his personal best, but he was only able to get up into 2nd place legitimately, rather than taking the place, inheriting the place from Kloss due to a penalty there. But a bit of a shame for Barcisz Kloss. They'll have to serve the 5-place grid penalty, because if he didn't, he would have started in 3rd place. But unfortunately, because of the accident that he caused at the last race at Suzuka with Bence Valdinga, he's going to have to start down in 8th position. So a little bit of a shame for him there. 2 seconds left, 1-0, and now the checkered flag is out. So we're now going to take a look at how Franco Lopez took pole position for tomorrow's Malaysian Grand Prix. So me and Hyan will mute ourselves, and you will enjoy how he got pole. That is how Franco Lopez took pole position for tomorrow's Malaysian Grand Prix. A very, very good lap indeed in the wet conditions. The question is, though, can he bounce back from what happened at Suzuka last week and actually try and put a gap between himself and Evan Byrne in the Drivers' Championship? Of course, he's going to have Byrne alongside him in the race tomorrow, so that's going to be very, very interesting indeed. But here are your top 10 then. Franco Lopez will be on pole position with Evan Byrne in 2nd. Barcisz Kloss ended up in 3rd, but due to his 5-place grid penalty, he will start in 8th position. So it'll be Amar Khan in 3rd, with Davy Kupok in in 4th, Jesus Perunin in 5th, with Roman Quag in 6th, Michael Motter in 7th. Then it'll be Barges Kloss in 8th. Miklos Gao ended the session in 9th, but due to his 5-place grid penalty, he will start in 14th. So it'll be Rahul Patel in 9th, and then it will be Emilio Wilson. He will inherit the final top 10 position in 10th position. But did you enjoy your first top class qualifying session here, Hyan?
Yeah, I am enjoying this, man. Especially this is a my home country, and yeah, I feel very excited. And unfortunately, I can't watch for tomorrow, so well, I can only watch it for the highlights or the results then.
Indeed. Well, that has been it then for the qualifying session here at Sepang. I hope you have enjoyed it. A very, very enjoyable session indeed, and hopefully we'll be in for an exciting race tomorrow. Of course, we're not done with live streams just yet, because coming up in 50 minutes' time, we'll have the Formula 2 race over at Rio de Janeiro, which sees Wojtek Kulazek on pole position. So hopefully that should be a very, very exciting race there. And of course, but until then, guys, that has been it. I hope you enjoyed. So thank you all for watching. I'm in JW97. He's been Hyan, and we will see you tomorrow at 5 p.m. BST for the 56th lap Malaysian Grand Prix. Till then, take care.
Bye.